So I wanted to just talk a little bit about what happens in terms of the family courts. It's quite difficult because actually it can be quite a contentious thing, and there's certain things I'm not allowed to say, but the way that it, as I said before, the way that it works is that until the actual trial's finished, they can't make a decision about what is going to happen for the children. And I suppose my biggest issue around this is that perpetrators have more rights than the victims or the children. Excuse me. I think that's wrong, and it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen that way. There needs to be something that is in place, that when this does happen, that the rights and feelings of the children are the main priority, and that I just don't feel that really is the case. And just as an example, what happened was that obviously the local authority are informed that this situation has happened, and they had to send out a social worker or a social worker is appointed for the children, usually from the EDT, emergency duty team, depending on when they're notified, or the child protection team. So the flows at the police station have obviously notified the local authority that this issue has happened and that there are these children involved. In our case, and this isn't a reflection on the local authority, this is a reflection, I think, on training of individuals. The day, what actually happened was, this particular day, me and my sister had gone out to go food shopping, and it's just one of those things you have to. And we came back, and my mum was absolutely distraught. I mean, like, inconsolable, because she'd received this phone call, and the social worker had basically asked my mum what was going on in terms of the children, and my mum had basically explained that the situation was that she wasn't well enough to take care of them, so that myself and my sister were going to look after the children. And obviously that would mean that, unfortunately, it would mean splitting them, but there was just no way I could take on all three with already having my own four. So I just couldn't manage 7 children, and all of them with their own sort of unique needs, and to be able to to give them all the best opportunities, we felt that the best thing was to do it this way. And bearing in mind that we know the children better than anybody, they're our family and we're a close family, you would think that actually would hold some weight, but it really doesn't. So this particular social worker had told my mum that she didn't agree with that plan, and that there would be a meeting held to make the decision about what was going to happen. As you can imagine, I've been described as, my mum would call me a gob something, but I won't say it. But I've been described as a forthright and direct communicator, but same thing. And I literally just phoned the flows and said, I want to speak to that social worker now, because that we have got enough to deal with without this on top of everything else. My mum is absolutely falling apart because she thinks they're going to come and take her grandchildren. So the social worker phoned me back and said, oh, no, that's not what I meant. And so I questioned her and I said, well, when are you coming out to speak to us as a family? And she said, well, after we've had the meeting. I said, so you're going to sit in a meeting and make decisions about children and a family that you haven't even clapped eyes on? Well, I have met the children. No, you have seen them for a few minutes during a police interview. That is not meeting them and knowing them. There's a big difference. And understanding why we've made the decisions that we've made You need to come and see us and speak to us to make an informed choice to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And bearing in mind that both my mum and I fostered for a very long time, and that my sister Kerry was my named respite carer, and that at that point I was also registered as a childminder and was looking after, lots of other people's children. So clearly I was not a risk to the children. So, just taking those facts into account, you look at what is common sense. So the social worker did come out, and it's something that I've spoken about to various people, and I'm not going to shy away from the fact. She came to my mum's house and sat at my mum's dining room table, bearing in mind we still had no idea where Natalie was. Everything was still very up in the air, that he'd just been charged with her murder, and told us that she had to wait for his permission because he had rights. And my response was, don't you dare walk into this house and tell me that he has any rights when he has taken all of my sisters. And just being so angry. And it's something that I do get really upset about, because for me, actually, yes, everybody's got a job to do. We've all been there. We've all got jobs and things that we have to follow, rules, but you are walking into an absolute storm of emotion to then sit there and say something like that. What do you expect the response to be? Just, really, I was so angry, so angry. So from there, basically, and I believe it was due to the Victoria Colombier case, there were lots of changes around kinship fostering, and that's had a kind of knock-on effect to how things are handled through the courts. So basically, the court process has gone ahead, and the local authority then has to take responsibility jointly for the children until such time as a conviction or acquittal happens. I think the bit for me that I find really tough is that we as a family had no legal right to even be in the courtroom. We're the people that are caring for these children day to day and know them better than anybody, but we actually had no voice. We were not, we had to ask permission to be there. We didn't go because there was a lot of other stuff going on at the same time that meant that we couldn't. But the fact that we had to even, it just seems silly that the people that are caring for these children on a day-to-day basis actually don't have a voice. And that's something that needs to be looked at. The only reason we knew anything that was going on in that courtroom is because we have a very good relationship with my sister's ex-partner, and obviously he was there every day and had to be, and he gave us the information. He came back to us at the end of every session and gave us a full blow-by-blow account. He was passing any information on to us in terms of letters that he'd received, so that we were fully in the loop. But that is not going to be the case for every family. And again, I come back to this thing that, I'm a fighter and I will stand up and argue, but not everybody is like me. If it was my mum on her own, she would just accept whatever happened, that's just how it's got to be, and that isn't always in the best interest of the children, and at the end of the day they should be the priority. And I know that everybody has rules and regulations they've got to follow, but also common sense should come into it, and compassion and a little bit of understanding. So we had to wait until after the trial, and then it went back to court, the family court, and the decisions are made around what happens. And the decision was right in that it was, they agreed with us, and we are in the situation we're in now. But like I say, not everybody is like me, not everybody will fight, not everybody understands how fostering works, and I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about the fact that there are so many families out there that are not getting the things that they need, the basic things that they need to bring children up, and that they've perhaps not been given the right legal advice, that they're not getting the right support to help children who have got so much going on in their lives. And I don't know if you can just take a second to just imagine what it was like for these children, okay? And this is from this is something that I had a discussion with one of the children about, and she is happy for me to share this. So I hadn't really thought about what it was like that day for them, but I asked that question, and I was really stunned. So she went to bed, and the police were there in the house. She went to bed, which obviously you see on the documentary, it's early evening, so gone to bed. And this particular police officer was there. Got up in the morning to go to school. Same said police officer crosses her on the stairs and was like, "Oh, good morning, you still here?" And you know, the police officer says, "Yes, good morning. Don't think you're going to be going to school today. Do you maybe want to go and just get some other clothes on? Your nan's coming to get you." That was it. That was all the children knew, is that there were police in the house and that they were going to nan's. At that stage, that was all they knew. They didn't know anything else. Those children lost everything. Their mum, their dad, their home, their dog, their toys, their clothes, everything. In that one moment, everything changed. And as an adult, we would struggle to deal with that. So how do you expect a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old to deal with it? It's tough. It's been tough on all of us, but for those children, and this is why I am so passionate that the system gets it right, because they've lost enough, and I'm going to get upset. They've lost enough in their lives. They shouldn't have to suffer again because of somebody else's actions. And for some families, that is exactly what's happening. I have spoken to a few families, and it makes me so angry that I hear that they are literally living on the breadline, struggling to bring up these children because they've done the right thing. They've been penalised. It's not fair, it's not right, and it needs to change. It needs to change. You know, as I said previously, money is not a dirty word. It shouldn't be a dirty word. It costs money to bring up children. And I'm sorry that I'm so angry about it and so passionate about it, but I can't help myself. We were so fortunate. And the more I hear of these families that are struggling to make ends meet, wondering if they're going to be able to afford to give children Christmas presents, keep a roof over their heads, because everything they have is gone. And they've been dumped on from a great height by various local authorities, because the easy thing to do is to just say, here you go, here's these 2 lovely children, 3 lovely children, your family, you crack on with it. No, these children have been through enough. They've been through enough, and they need the support of not just their family, but of the state. They need, these families should not be left on their own in terms of the therapy that they're getting, you know, just basic stuff. I mean, come on, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So if nothing else comes of what has happened with my sister, I am determined that there is more support in place for families that take on their loved ones, because it's the right thing to do. You shouldn't be punished because you're doing the right thing. If we'd just walked away and said, no, we can't do this, the state would have to have looked after these children. So why not help us to do the best job we possibly can to give these children the absolute best chance and overcoming the absolute worst situation that you can imagine? And I'm not just talking about children that have come from the situation that our children have had. I'm talking about children that have lost both their parents for some tragic accident. I mean, I think back to the Manchester bombings, and there were some children there that lost both their parents. That family, and I can remember watching the news and just feeling this terrible sense of dread and thinking, God, I hope that family have got the right support and they understand what they can and can't do in terms of, you know, things that they can actually say, no, I need help with this, and not just accepting what is being said to them, you know. And it just really upsets me, and it's probably the one thing that really does upset me of all the stuff that's gone on. People ask me, how do you feel about him? It's empty. There's nothing. But when you talk about those kids, no. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will come back to what I actually intended to do at a later date. Okay, thank you.